This is Joy News Prime.
This is indeed Joy News Prime, Ghana's most comprehensive 2 hours of television news. Coming up, New Patriotic Party flag bearer Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo lashes out at President Mahama on his decision to host 2 terror suspects in Ghana, accusing him of breaching the country's constitution. Electricity Company of Ghana sets its eyes on ending localized outages, convinced load shedding is now a thing of the past. Upper East Region labor unions give full backing to Wednesday's demonstration to protest utility tariff increase and recent energy tax.
And in business tonight, Barclays Bank Ghana downplays reports of its parent company closing shop in Africa.
Also in the bulletin, 2 High Court judges indicted in judicial corruption expose by Anas Barima Anas removed from office by President Mahama. We'll also bring you entertainment, sports, international news, and Joy News Interactive. This bulletin is also available on ABN Television on the Sky platform across Europe, as well as on Freeview Connect. Stay tuned. Members of organized labor in the Upper East region have given their full backing to the planned nationwide demonstration to be staged tomorrow. At a news conference in Bolgatanga on Tuesday, the regional leaders expressed their disgust over the recent increases in utility tariffs and fresh taxes imposed by government. Represented at the news conference were the Trade Union Congress, the National Association of Graduate Teachers, the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union, Ghana Registered Nurses Association, the Civil and Local Government Staff Association of Ghana, CLOSAG, and several others. Michael Ayuraboya read a statement on behalf of the unions.
Of organized labor in the Upper East region wish to assure our members that with a mandate to defend you, the working people, the weak and vulnerable in our society, we have no option but to lead you to take our concerns to the streets as a first step, hoping the government is still a listening one. We remain resolute to the cause of the Ghanaian worker. Thank you. Workers of the Upper East region, on your behalf, we affirm our unflinching support to our national leadership and wish to emphasize that we will hold a demonstration on Wednesday, 20th January 2016, starting 8 a.m. We will converge at the Jubilee Park, Bolgatanga. After marching through the principal streets of Bolga, we will present a petition to His Excellency the President through the Honorable Regional Minister of Upper East. We take this opportunity to invite all workers in this region to come out in their numbers to demonstrate massively to drum home our message that workers of this nation can no longer be taken for granted. Ghanaians in the Upper East region who believe in the constitutional provision that our welfare and happiness should be paramount in government policy are invited to join the demonstration. All those who believe that we cannot and we should not allow our politicians, whether in parliament or the executive, to take us for granted and to impose all sorts of levies, taxes and fees and prices on us without recourse to our plight and economic circumstances should come and join us.
The Coalition of Concerned Teachers is also urging government to be sensitive to the plight of Ghanaians. Speaking at a news conference to rally their members to join Wednesday's demonstration by organized labor, the leadership of the teachers said increased utility tariffs and taxes will only make living conditions worse. The group is also blaming Parliament for not doing due diligence in passing the laws on new taxes.
It is obvious these increases will aggravate the already harsh economic conditions faced by workers of Ghana. The Energy Sector Levies Act also imposes a further 10% increment on electricity, 5% for street lights, street and traffic lights, and 5% rural electrification. This now makes the increment in electricity to be 69.2% and no longer 59.2%. Why all these in such harsh times? Why should such a law be rushed to Parliament under certificate of urgency to be passed without any form of debate nor consultations? The law also makes an additional 1 Ghana pesewa to be charged on every liter of fuel to the Energy Commission, Again, why? Meanwhile, public sector wages was increased to only 10% at a time inflation rate is 17.4%. This is even expected to increase due to the increase in utility tariffs and fuel prices. This is because fuel prices and utility tariffs serves as economic indicators. So whenever they are increased, automatically inflation price also goes up. This means that public sector wages had already declined by 7.4%. For workers in the private sector, this is even more worse because the prolonged energy crisis has left many of them jobless, let alone talk of increment of wages. So our colleagues in the private sector are even suffering the more. They are being laid off. So when it comes to increment of salaries, they don't even talk about it at all because already they are being laid off due to increment in utilities and the erratic supply of electricity. This government must renew its commitment to Ghanaians by being at least a little sensitive to the plight of the people in this country. The refusal of government to reduce the utility tariffs and as well withdraw the killer energy sector law leaves us with no option but to call on all CCT members and all teachers in Ghana to boycott school on the 20th of January 2016 and together with their families join organized labor in their respective regions to demonstrate their anger and frustrations to this insensitive government. A strike action is as well very imminent pending the outcome of the meeting between government and organized labor on 21st of January 2016.
Now, the Electricity Company of Ghana has some concerns about agitations to get government to reduce the recently announced or increased utility tariffs. We'll have that for you presently, but convinced that it has satisfactorily dealt with load shedding, the company says it is now determined to end all localized power outages by the end of March this year. Officials in the sector have been at pains to distinguish between load shedding and intermittent outages, as highlighted by the ex-Power Minister, Dr. Kwabena Donkor. Speaking exclusively with Joy News, ECG Managing Director Robert Dramna said the localized outages are as a result of faults with some distribution lines and equipment. These faults, he says, should be resolved in the next 3 months.
See, when you go through an intensive load management program, it involves switching the equipment on and off. No, these equipments are not designed to be switched on and off. So as you do that, you weaken the equipment, you advance the age of the equipment, you see. So because of the load management program, some of our networks have suffered some weaknesses, and this will show up once we begin to have continuity of power. But then we have positioned ourselves. See, we are going through some reorganization at our district levels. That is where they do all the operations. That is where they have the interface with our customers. And therefore, we believe that if we are able to change the attitude of our staff in making sure that they respond effectively to customer complaints, we'll be able to change the company. And that is what we are doing now. So currently we have positioned ourselves to make sure that these challenges will come, but we'll be able to resolve them within the shortest possible time. But now that we're having constant supply, now people are using all their appliances, and this is showing up in the transformer loadings. But we have, I can tell you, we have enough transformers in our system. I can tell you we have getting to about, because we knew we were going to go through this, we have over 2,000 transformers to make sure that we are able to overcome these challenges like transformer overloading.
Does this matter of load shedding? We were told earlier that it had gone off. Then the load management committee came and told us, well, because of some challenges, we may have to linger for a while. We are not clearly out of the woods. Yes. We were made to understand that we're supposed to have some kind of load shedding timetable. Will that come out already?
Oh, not like we have, like you said, we have a load management committee. I'm not a member of the committee, and therefore I will not want to delve into issues concerning that, because, like I said, they are working on a program. Mm-hmm. You see, they are working on a program. They've not submitted a program to us to review, and therefore I will not want to.
So until that happens, we will not see a load shedding timetable.
Yes, currently, like we said, we are having adequate power. I mean, you get 24-hour power in your home. Yes, and you continue to have that. So let's all understand that is what we are going to have. We may have challenges, but I don't think that it will be load shedding.
Okay. This question is about the negotiations that are going on currently to have the tariffs reduced in view of the agitations by Labour. We know you need these tariffs to generate the power. For you as the ECG, already what you asked for you were not given.
Yes.
Would you be able to deal with another reduction?
It will be difficult. You see, like you said, we asked for about 102%, and then we're given 59. Then the 59 is even for the 3 or tiers of that is for generation, for transmission, and for distribution. Once we didn't get the what we requested for, it means that it will affect our operations. We now have to be able to prioritize, and you know the power sector now needs to be very robust. We have to be able, after these challenges that we went through, we should not go back as a nation to those days again. We shouldn't, as a nation, go back. So, and the only thing that we need to make sure that we don't go back is money.
Now, 2 High Court judges indicted in the judicial corruption expose have been removed from office. President John Mahama directed the dismissal of Justice John Ajet-Nassam and Justice Ernest Obimpe on grounds of stated misbehavior. A statement signed by the Judicial Secretary Justice Alex B. Poku-Echampong explained the decision by the President follows his acceptance of the recommendations of a 5-member impeachment committee that investigated their conduct in accordance with Article 146 of the 1992 Constitution. The committee was chaired by a Justice of the Supreme Court. Now, joining us in the studio now is my Joy Online editor, Malik Dabu. Good evening to you, Malik. Now, these will be the first 2 to be fired as a result of the investigations done by Anas Anas. Kindly take us through the processes leading up to this.
Okay, so Anas, an investigative journalist, together with his Tiger IPI company, and we do know that they have been conducting investigations into sensitive areas of our society, and so they decided to investigate the judiciary, an important arm of government. So they spent almost 2 years plus to do some work, and then came out with an investigative video on which they captured a number of judges, court staff, High Court judges and lower court judges. The High Court judges were 12 in number. There were 22 lower court judges. The lower court judges were basically circuit court judges and magistrates. Magistrates are those people who necessarily are not trained in the law, but who are empowered by the law to take decisions in respect of petty crimes. So somebody steals a finger of banana, somebody steals a fowl or a goat. Those ones are cases that are dealt by the magistrate court. So the persons who preside over those courts are called magistrates. And then we have the circuit court judges. So there were 22 of them, and then 12 high court judges. Now, out of the 12 high court judges, 10 of them had gone on retirement by the time the investigations were concluded. All right. Now, Tiger IPI, after the investigation, submitted 2 petitions because the law, and you were talking about Article 146. Article 146 of the Constitution says that if you have a case against a high court judge, what you do is to petition the president, because it is only the president that can remove a person, a judge of the superior courts. And the superior courts are basically the High Court, the Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court. So to remove a superior court judge, you must send a petition to the president. The petition must detail what the person has done. What the person has done must be on stated grounds of misbehavior. So in this case, what Anas and his Tiger IPI did was to tell the president that these 12 High Court judges were found taking bribes, and we presented those bribes to them. This is the evidence that they received bribes in order to pervert justice. To that extent, we are petitioning you to cause their removal from the bench because they are a disgrace to the judiciary.
All right.
Now, when the president received this, the law, the constitution says that he must refer that petition to the Chief Justice. So the president did that, referred the matter to the Chief Justice. The Chief Justice then set up a 5-member investigative and impeachment committee to investigate the matters. Note that 2 of them had gone on retirement already. There were 10 of them here. Out of the 10 of them, 2 of them challenged the processes that were being undertaken. And those were Justice Mohammed Habib Logo and Justice Paul Utaderi. So those ones, a decision hasn't been taken yet. But after the 5-member committee received this petition from the president, it wrote to all of them to respond to the allegations made against them by Tiger IPI and Anas. They responded. Justice John Ajetnasam didn't respond. In fact, the committee had to take an extraordinary step to put a publication in the Daily Graphic asking that if he didn't come by a certain date, it was going to hear his matter without recourse to him, because it's fundamental law that you cannot judge a person unless you have heard him.
So it is believed that indeed they went ahead to hear the matter.
So they went ahead to hear the matter. Then we got a statement that 7 of them had been suspended. 7 of them had been suspended. That is, the Constitution says, if a prima facie case has been made against a person, the first step to take is to suspend the person. Prima facie simply means on the face of the evidence, it is obvious that you have a case to answer. So the statement from the Judicial Council said that the prima facie case had been established against these 7 judges and they were suspended. Justice Obimpe was one of them. Ajetnasam, because he had absconded, we didn't hear anything about him. Now the statement has come and they are saying that after the prima facie case had been made against them, they sent their responses. It was evidently clear that they didn't have too much answers to give in respect of the allegations leveled against them by the petitioners, i.e. Tiger IPI and Anas. So that has been the chronology of events that led
So this will be in the
decision.
case of Justice Obimpe, because in the case of Ajetnasam, we still haven't heard anything from
Yes,
him.
we still haven't heard, but to the extent that the committee pointed out to him that if he didn't come, he was going to hear his matter. That was what it did, and then it has found them, the 2 of them, they have been found to have engaged in acts that are improper. That is what constitutes stated misbehavior that founded the grounds upon which they were removed.
So now there are a few more whose cases or matter has not been decided yet. How soon should we expect an outcome?
Well, they are in court. Justice Derry and Justice Mohammed Habib Logo are in court. They have gone to the Supreme Court. Remember that they filed a case on September 14th, 2015, challenging the process.
Indeed, we have a story coming up regarding as far as Justice Asare Asare.
So we know that Justice Derry is challenging the processes by which the evidence against him was collected. He is arguing essentially that Anas and his Tiger PI violated his right to privacy by coming to collect this evidence. And he's arguing that by going ahead to go and broadcast the evidence, it is in violation of Article 146 of the Constitution, because the article says if you petition the president, the matters in issue should not be made public. So he is arguing by publishing this, the processes, the petitioners have conducted themselves in a manner that is prejudicial to fair hearing against him. And to that extent, he wants the High Court to declare the processes null and void. That's a matter that is still in there. That's still pending at the High Court. Until the High Court takes a decision, I am sure that the committee set up by the Chief Justice will stay its hands off the matter as it relates to the two of them, Justice Mohammed Habib Logo and Justice Paul Derry.
Right, thank you very much, Malik Dabu. Now, two judges involved in the controversial judicial bribery scandal are back in court with a new suit against the Chief Justice, Judicial Council, and 5 others. This time, Justices Paul Derry and Gilbert Isiado are demanding full payment of their salaries and restoration of other allowances, all of which were withdrawn shortly after they were indicted for trading justice for money. The 2 in a 5-page writ are demanding 5 reliefs from the court, including a declaration that the decision to put them on half salary was unconstitutional. At this point, we're taking a break on Joy News Prime. We'll be back with more stories. Please don't go away. The New Patriotic Party flag bearer Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo has described as illegal President Mahama's decision to host in Ghana 2 terror suspects previously detained at Guantanamo Bay in Cuba. Citing Section 35 of the Anti-Terrorism Act 2008, Act 762, the opposition leader said the law prohibits the agreement which the president entered into with the U.S. government, describing it as lawlessness at its highest level. Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo made the statement in Wa when he called on the family of the late Alhaji Al-Hassan bin Saleh to commiserate with them on his death last October.
His pronouncement comes days after his party, the New Patriotic Party, condemned government's decision to host the 2 ex-Gitmo detainees. Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo accused President Mahama of flouting the laws of the country with impunity just to satisfy the American government.
The problem we face is yet another case of the failure of leadership by the President of the Republic and a sad example of his belief that he's answerable to no one, not even to the laws of the Republic, like Section 35 of the Anti-Terrorism Act, Act 762, which as President he is sworn to uphold. That law prohibits the transaction into which he has entered with the United States government. Lawlessness at the highest levels of the state cannot produce good governance. Since he claims that only Presidents Rawlings and Kufuor have the right to criticize him, I would have wished that he had found it worthy to consult both of our 2 former national leaders before he took this grave decision that has consequences for us all. If he had done so, the Ghanaian people may have well been spared the disquieting anxiety in this time of justifiably heightened fear of global terrorism, that we are being led by a president who, ostensibly in the name of compassion, prefers to ignore laws designed to defend the most sensitive area of all, our nation's security.
He appealed to Ghanaians to desist from linking the issue to religion.
Let us disagree by all means on the many political things that confront us, but I pray that we refrain from introducing religious divisions into the debate, for the issue at stake is not a religious one.
Meanwhile, the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party, Nana Akufo-Addo, visited the families of 3 stalwarts of the party who lost their lives some months ago to commiserate with them. Notable among them is Alhaji Al-Hassan bin Saleh, who until his death was a member of the National Council of Elders of the New Patriotic Party. He was accompanied to the forecourt of the Ahmadiyya Mosque by the running mate of the party, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, acting national chairman Freddie Blay, and other party bigwigs. Rafiq Salam's report from Wa.
Members of Parliament's Public Accounts Committee have threatened to search out the Governor of the Bank of Ghana for failing to appear before it to respond to an audit query in the audited accounts of the Ghana.Revenue Authority. Dr. Kofi Wampa and his management team were scheduled to appear on Tuesday to respond to the query raised in the 2013 audit report. He, however, failed to show up after the committee had waited for him for almost 2 hours. 2 officials who eventually showed up also had no idea what they were there to respond to and pleaded for time.
Chairman, I think we must find out from them whether they have gone through the Auditor General's report and they know the issues raising them.
It's okay,
because
George.
Before you come here, you must have a knowledge of this document.
Chairman. George, it's okay. Yes, Richard.
Chairman, I think that the issue is very simple and straightforward. And that is all that, it's all summarized in what the ranking said. I mean, and the gentleman himself admitted that they were told this morning they hadn't seen this document and they only want, please, they only want to now listen so that they can get some input and then inform those who send them such that the appropriate officers will be sent subsequently to respond to the issues. I mean, the issue is neither here nor there. So we don't have to belabor the issue. They just have to go so that, and then subsequently, if they finish the appropriate officers with the report, then the document, then they can come back at another time.
At their own expense. Okay. They've said that, in fact, the most instructive thing they've said is that they expected to be led by their internal author. So, to the extent that he's not here, I think that they cannot proceed further.
Thank you very much. I've taken counsel, but let me ask from the Commissioner General. This report was published about a year or two back. What have you done about trying to resolve the matters in the report?
Honorable, we've been meeting at various levels and also as top management and also interacting with the field managers concerned on all the issues that we have taken note of in these reports. And the report that we have put together is the outcome, and even the ministry has been calling us on a regular basis for us for them to assess our preparedness to appear before the committee and by way of resolving the problems before we come to the committee. So it's a whole lot of preparation that spans.
Your discussions at various levels together with the ministry in trying to resolve these matters. Yes. Have you always included Bank of Ghana?
Honorable, we have interacted with the Bank of Ghana on a number of issues that have been found in the report.
So why couldn't you bring those you have been interacting with when you were appearing before the committee?
Honorable, for us to bring them from Bank of Ghana may be beyond our remit, sir.
Chief Director, unfortunately, we may have to reschedule this sitting.
Right, so as you hear, the public hearing was eventually called off, with the members not very happy by the turn of events. Ranking member Ibrahim Day and her deputy, Ranking Rachel Adjoa-Apo, said that disrespect to Parliament by some public officers must stop.
You can see everybody is not happy, especially the members. I mean, how can we come from our homes and then you come and tell us that you are not prepared and the person who's supposed to lead you is not even here? So how long do you expect us to wait? Actually, we've already kept waiting for about 2 hours. It's almost 12. And they are saying that they heard it 10 minutes ago, not even 30 minutes. It's 10 minutes ago. That is an insult. So why do you even come? If you are not prepared, why do you come? And this is a serious business. The infractions and the errors that they've committed to me are very serious, that they have to prepare before they appear before the committee. You could see from my face, I am not happy. I am not happy.
Don't you think it's about time Parliament, for want of a better word, put fear into people who come under a certain committee in the discharge of their duties? It looks like in the past you've treated some of these state organizations with kid gloves. This is about time that Parliament exerts its authority on these individuals.
I have been saying this, and I've said it over and over again. People are not taking us serious. That is the word. They are not taking us serious. Some institutions are not taking us serious. And we have to actually do something as a committee. We have to do something. That's why we're going to meet. The chairman is gone. The vice is also gone. Now my ranking is here. I'm also going. We're going to meet. Probably either the leadership or the whole committee members are going to meet and then probably discuss such issues. We have to be serious on these issues. people must respect the committee because I'm representing more than 100,000 people. So you can't take me alone even for granted, let alone people representing 200,000 people.
The governor of the central bank could be surcharged with the cost of the committee's public hearing for a day. You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break. We have business news coming up next. Right, time now for business. Senator Namse has joined me, and she's going to be telling us about what's happening with Barclays Bank Global.
Africa, yeah.
Okay.
The mother,
which may affect Barclays Bank Africa. So customers of Barclays Bank, you better be listening to this.
All right, Ezra, thank you. Now, Barclays Ghana has downplayed reports that its parent company is preparing to end its operations in sub-Saharan Africa. According to the UK Times newspaper, the group is preparing to sell some of its 62% stake in Barclays Africa, one of the continent's largest banks, employing about 44,000 people. But officials of Barclays Ghana, Joy Business Engaged, say they deem the report a speculative one, which does not warrant an official response per their policy.
Barclays Bank built up its African banking network, including 12 countries over nearly a century, making it one of the leading Western banks, along with Standard Chartered and Citigroup operating on the continent. Most of Barclays Africa's banking is carried out in South Africa. The Times newspaper reports the decision to head out of Africa is part of the strategy by the new chief executive, Jess Staley, to refocus on a narrower range of businesses. It attributes the move largely to a collapse in commodities prices and political instability on the continent, which has seen the South African currency lose more than a quarter of its value against the US dollar in the past 6 months. Analysts, however, say finding an outright buyer for Barclays' African business is unlikely because of the commodity price crash and China's economic slowdown, which have dulled appetite for emerging market assets.
Now, the high cost of financing remains a major challenge affecting the growth of small and medium enterprises in the country. This is said to be negatively affecting the country's competitiveness on the global front, job creation and revenue generation, as SMEs constitute over 90% of registered businesses. To bridge the gap, an SME financing fair which seeks to bring together financial institutions, government agencies and the SMEs is to be held in March. Minister of State in charge of private sector development, Rashid Pelpo, earlier today addressed the media launch.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, various studies initiated by the government, the World Bank, and development partners have indicated and identified access to finance as a critical constraint is debilitating enough and ensuring that SMEs find it difficult to break out into the market and beyond the Ghanaian market and realize their very potentials that they are meant to realize. Recognizing that the prevailing high interest rates and limited access to funding are difficult and forces working against the SME sector, we are launching the SME Financing Fair in a bid to find lasting solutions to the challenges and bring exposure to innovative financing mechanisms prevailing in the country now.
The Trade Ministry has assured it is working hard to revamp activities at the Drapon Textiles factory by the end of this month. The factory has in recent times had challenges supplying raw materials to companies like GTP. Outgoing Deputy Trade Minister Kweku Ricketts-Hagan says government has come very far in putting Drapon Textiles on strong footing.
Old factory, the equipment there are quite old. So we need to make sure that obviously maintenance, we are on top of maintenance. We need to make sure that parts that need to be replaced are replaced. Energy consumption at that place is very high. We have a technology these days to reduce energy consumption because they all add to your cost. You cannot be producing and getting revenues less than what you are spending in terms of cost. It doesn't make sense. The electricity cost alone, they spend about 350,000 Ghana cedis in paying for electricity. And this is something that we work with the ECG to try and spread out obviously how much they spend, but most importantly, to bring in what they call capacitor banks to reduce the power intake, so that we'll be able to make some savings there. Again, we need to look at the workforce and make sure that all the people, they have about 1,200 people working for the company, but at the moment the level of production doesn't match the number of people working there. So first of all, we need to make sure that actually 1,200 people work in that company.
The Volta Star Textiles factory has for over 10 years struggled to produce sufficient raw materials for textiles companies. GTP Managing Director Kofi Boateng indicates his company has been partnering the factory to help it improve its productivity. He spoke to Joy Business at a ceremony to mark the 50th anniversary of the textiles company.
What are you going to ensure? What is happening is Japan is a great bath manufacturing company. It has a capacity of about 20 million yards, but they don't have the working. It's owned by the government. They don't have the working capital to operate. So we carried out a Made in Ghana project, and the agreement that we came to is that we will buy the cotton for them. So we pre-finance the cotton, keep it with them, and then when they produce it, they sell it to us at the world market price, because grey cloth or grey bath is a world commodity. It's manufactured all over the place. It's even done in Benin, China, and all those other places, and even Cote d'Ivoire. So what we do is that after we supply this, they manufacture and send it to us. We buy the world market price, which is denominated in dollars. So you can imagine that in 2014, when the dollar was going up, every week when we were buying it was at a higher price. So we supported them well enough, but I think they have some challenges in management. So we support them by giving the raw material and even spare parts, because it is not an international company. They find it difficult to source the the spare parts and others. So we even pre-finance it and take it from the sales proceeds.
Players in the cashew industry have drafted a 10-year national cashew development program aimed at boosting the fortunes of the sector. Cashew production and exports have dwindled over the years. Presently, Ghana produces about 50,000 tons of cashew, but players expect it to shoot up to about 200,000 in the next 10 years once the draft development program is approved by government. Winfred Osei Asare is president of the Cashew Industry Association of Ghana.
The cashew industry is young but very, very, very promising. In the early 80s, we didn't have cashew as an export crop, But I think the then government, PNDC, looked at the economy then, and those were the heady days, and they decided to diversify the economy and identified some other crops that could be of export value and can earn revenue into the country. You remember that cocoa has been the major agricultural crop, which has supported the economy for a number of years. So then the strategy was to diversify the economy. So with that decision, Ministry of Trade and Agri was contracted to introduce cashew to farmers for commercial cultivation. It has 4 components. They are short-term, immediate-term intervention that we are calling for. They are medium-term and long-term.
So we've had some bad news on the stock and commodity market. Gold is going down, cocoa gained a bit yesterday, oil is going down. But is there any hope, and where else can we invest? John is here to advise. Hello, John.
Hi. Fortunately,
tell me you have some
oil
good
gained
news
today, gold gained, cocoa gained.
That's good.
That's very good. I'm sure these are some of the news that you'd want to actually be hearing almost every other time. Basically, let's start with the stock market here in Ghana. Unfortunately for investors of cow, farm milk, and Aluwex, they lost significantly to their share capitals today, actually. But of course, the market sort of like this, there was some kind of improvement over yesterday's performance as the market traded close to about 300,000
volume worth of equities today at a total cost of about 385,000. So a kind of improvement over yesterday's, but comparatively, like I always say, a market worth almost over 57 billion trading under 400,000. It's not something good. That good. Okay, and that is also compelling the CI to go to the negatives and the FI to also go into the negatives. So if you've been investing in the equities market, you'll be losing some money as we speak. But
is that crude gained a bit?
Crude gained above 45 cents to close at 28.95.
It's still not good, John. It's still not
barrel.
Good.
But at least it gained. For almost about 3 months now, it's been losing consistently. So there's been a gain of about 1.58%.
Looks
today.
like gold
gained $1.14 to close at $1,089. Cocoa gained $17 today. Exactly, it's good. Apart from this, almost every other tradable commodity on the international market gained today.
Wow.
And this just as a result, China released their economic data just this morning, and that's actually propelling most of these
Let's wrap up with
that
the
positive
CD.
sentiment. I mean, the CD keeps actually its downward trend by losing to the US dollar, only gained to the British pound, and also lost to the euro and the Chinese one. So basically, that has been the market. It's been somehow very good for at international scene, but locally, we are not seeing that yet.
Thank
so that has
you,
been
John.
the market there.
Thank you so much. There's hope for the commodities.
Sure, let's see how it actually pans out.
All right, now that's how we wrap up. My name is Eton. I'm saying many thanks for your time. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com.
You're watching Joy News Prime. Now, President John Mahama has announced his first reshuffle for the year. The former Chief of Staff, Prosper Douglas Bani, has been named Minister Designate for Interior, and President Mahama's first reshuffle is for 2016. Prosper Bani was relieved of his post in February 2015 and was replaced by Julius Debra. Meanwhile, Fifi Kwete, Minister for Agriculture, has been appointed as the Minister Designate for Transport to replace Jifo Ativo, who resigned from her position on December 23, 2015 over the controversial 3.6 million cedis BAT branding saga. Let's get some analysis on this with political scientist Dr. Alidu Seidu, who's joining us on telephone. Good evening to you, Doctor. Hello, Dr. Seidu.
Hello.
All right, good evening and thanks for joining us. Now, what was your first reaction when this reshuffle came out?
Okay, thank you very much, Israel. When I heard yesterday that there's going to be a reshuffle, I thought the president was going to, this is an election year, so I thought he was going to introduce a lot of new talent and new skills. People who have had a lot of practical experience, maybe outside government, so that they can inject a sort of speed and excitement into the way government business is done. But this morning, and so far, the list that I have seen, I've seen that there have been new introductions, but largely most of them are people who have already been in government, who have been boggled down by this fatigue, who have been moved from one particular ministry to the other. I believe they have experience. They have been ministerial, cabinet ministers. Some are just have experience working within a ministry and supervising people under him. But I think that all these people have been contagious with that element of fatigue, which have characterized government business for the past 3 getting to 4 years. So I was thinking that there will be new faces, there will be new energy, there will be new talent to support this particular already tired team in the run-up to November election. But I have just seen that just a sort of musical chairs where these old people have been moved around, and I don't think it's going to make so much impact for now.
All right, but to be fair with the president, what we're told is that this is just like the first list, and that indeed there's going to be another set that's going to be coming up. As far as you're concerned, you're not impressed by this list.
Yeah, I think maybe the new list that will come will be able to breathe a sense of fresh air, freshness, and sort of that element of vim into government business moving forward. But I think the list that has come today will not add so much expediency, it will not add so much experience, it will not add so much energy to what has already been done in the past years. But maybe the new list will prove me wrong. But so far, the current list that we have cannot change the game in the run-up to November elections.
All right, now this list also comes at a time when we don't have a power minister because the power minister resigned. Does it surprise you that the president failed to name a substantive power minister, or probably say that the acting or the deputy is now the substantive minister?
Yeah, in the case of the power minister, he made a promise to Ghanaians as part of his accountability measure that I have set myself this target, and if I'm not able to achieve them within this particular limit of time, I will tender in my resignation. And I wish every minister who is appointed makes that pledge to Ghanaians so that we can hold him to account if he or she is not able to deliver. And it was one of the most sensitive ministries and one of the most serious challenges that we faced as a nation. So even though I think I applaud him for resigning, whether he was pushed or not, but I think he has achieved a lot.
No, the point I'm making is that I thought it was a fine opportunity for the president to replace him or name a substantive minister. Unfortunately, we have lost Dr. Alidu Seidu on the line, but that's an area I'd have wished he touched on. But moving on to other stories, one person has been picked up by the Accra Central Motor Traffic and Transport Unit of the Police Service in connection with the faking of electronic roadworthy stickers. This follows Joy News' investigation into how middlemen are introducing fake electronic roadworthy stickers into the system. The suspect, Francis Vivo, is a well-known middleman who operates at the Wager DVLA and who managed to fake a sticker for Joy News' investigative journalist Kwete Nate. Operations officer at the Accra Central MTTD, ASP Sulemana Sule Jr., told Joy News they are hunting for other suspects as well. The arrest comes at a time when the DVLA had given assurances that the electronic stickers could not be duplicated. The electronic versions are to significantly minimize the rampant practice of faking of roadworthy stickers. Now, Ghana has ranked D in Transparency International's report that measures the risk of corruption in government defense institutions. The report measures the risk of corrupt activities in government defense institutions and the measures taken to manage the risk of corruption on defense. 48 African countries were ranked according to level of risk in the political, financial, personnel, procurement, and operational sections of the armed forces. Ghana scored D. Jennifer Kwama has more.
When the first survey of this kind was conducted, only 18 African countries agreed to participate. This figure grew to the current figure of 48 after a Transparency International summit in Senegal in 2014 with calls for a more comprehensive report. The recent survey was contracted over a 2-year period, and as stated by Transparency International, it is not a measure of perception, nor was it designed to draw comparisons. The report was rather meant to measure the risk of corruption in defense and measures taken to manage the risk of corruption in defense. The report also noted that, although the armed forces have become more professional, corruption has inched up due to increases in defense spending. Senior advisor of Transparency International, Sir Stuart Alden, explains Ghana's position on the rankings and what it means.
Well, Ghana is in band D, as the index sets it out, which means a high risk of corruption. Within Africa, Ghana scores the highest of any band. There are 7 African countries that have been awarded band D, and there is none higher.
So what exactly does this imply for Ghana?
Well, the index, as you know, measures how far countries have implemented current international best practice to combat the risks of corruption in the defence and security sector. And that is the scoring that's come out. It's a band D.
So is this a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, Ghana is in the top band of countries in Africa.
showed less risk of corrupt activities in the political and personnel sectors and higher risks of corrupt activities in the finance, procurement and operations sectors. However, Colonel Dr. Emmanuel Kotia has disagreed with some aspects of the report.
Now, when you look at public procurement, that is the area I disagree with the report to some extent, where the report says that the Public Procurement Authority only approves for sole sourcing. I think that we must look at it in a wider range. Sole sourcing, selective bidding, and probably open bidding. There are a number of times we see procurements of our institutions published in the newspapers for open bidding. There are also sometimes where we go for selective bidding, and because of the nature of defense and other security organizations, you need to register of these ministries before. Now, these ministries, what they do is that, especially the defense and the other security ministry, what they do is that the organization or the contractors that have registered with the ministries, their profiles are sent to the National Procurement Authority, and they now will give authority that these are selected contractors who have registered with you. You have the authority to use them for the bidding. So,
watch Enjoy News Prime. We're taking a break. Up next, we bring you international news. Watching Joy News Prime Time now for a recap of our top stories. The new Patriotic Party flag bearer Nana Addo Akufo-Addo has lashed out at President Mahama on his decision to host 2 terror suspects in Ghana, accusing him of breaching the country's constitution. The Electricity Company of Ghana is setting its eyes on ending localized outages, convinced load shedding is now a thing of the past. The Upper East Region Labour Unions have given full backing to Wednesday's demonstration to protest utility tariff increases and the recent energy tax. In business, Barclays Bank Ghana has downplayed reports of its parent company closing shop in Africa. And 2 High Court judges indicted in judicial corruption expose by Nasser Remianas have been removed from office by President Mahama. In other news, with a growing global population, much of the discussion on food security is focused on expanding agricultural production, which often comes at the expense of the environment. There are scientists, however, who believe the world already grows enough food and would rather blame food scarcity on distribution challenges, lack of purchasing power, and related issues other than production. Mahmoud Mohamed Nuruddin in the following report explores the other ways of meeting food demand.
6 people directly depend on the forest for food and other essentials for life. The forest and its trees have and continue to play major roles throughout human history to support livelihood as well as meet global food security and nutrition.
They gave birth to us and they already started eating it, so anytime we're always hungry, we'll go and plop some, also mash it, take it. For the first time, you like to take again, and if you take it, then to continue all the time. Anytime you're hungry, you go and look for some, take.
This tree is known by many with many uses. Here at Bansi in the Boko municipality, it is called thick, but the English name is baobab. The locals here in the Boko municipality use the leaves as vegetable.
First of all, we use the leaves to prepare soup, followed by we use the fruits itself. If they bust it, they use the seeds, add water, and mash it. They remove all the seeds, add sugar. You can take it. Others, like those in the cities and towns, they buy it, and they do what we call cooker. They add sugar, put it in the fridge, and sell.
Today, a lot of trees are no longer part of the general diet. With climate change, some of these trees have become extinct. According to the World Agroforestry Center, an estimated 20% of the population in developing countries suffer from micronutrient deficiencies, while about 1 billion people, mostly in low-income countries, are food and nutrition insecure. Many of them lack the quantity and quality of food that is necessary for an active and healthy life. This notwithstanding, trees are a critical component in the quest for food and nutritional security.
As part of measures to contain the outbreak of infectious diseases in the Upper West region, a new disease holding center has been constructed in Wa to serve residents and surrounding communities. The facility, which was initially built as part of the Ebola response plan, will now be used to curb the spread of infectious diseases in the region. Matilda Fomaga has more.
Bed facility located at the premises of the Upper West Regional Hospital is to cater for patients within the region when there is an outbreak of any infectious disease. It is furnished with the appropriate logistics, medicines and personal protective equipment to help contain and manage the spread of an outbreak. The Regional Director of Health Services, Dr. William Ofusu, says the center was built in accordance with specification from the World Health Organization.
Originally, it was constructed in response to preparedness for Ebola disease outbreak. But we have turned it into infectious diseases, so any patient who has infectious disease will be kept here and then managed so that other people do not get it. Infectious diseases are simply diseases that can easily spread to other people. So you need to sometimes separate these people from the general population or the general patients so that the infection will not spread to them.
Okay. So is this building ready for use?
Yes, it's ready for use. As you can see, the equipment, their beds already in the building, so it's ready for use.
At what cost did this come to us?
It came at a cost of 110,000 Ghana cedis.
We know this area is prone to CSM and all that. What are the measures you are putting in place?
Yes, currently we are making sure that we prevent any outbreak. As a result, we are ongoing with education, public education, making sure that cases, anyone who has signs of meningitis, which is sudden onset of fever, and then neck stiffness, or for children, fontanelles bulging, reports early to the facility so that they are managed. And unfortunately for us, the meningitis cases we are seeing now are being caused by organisms that do not spread very fast. So we are certain that we will not have an outbreak. Of course, there will be meningitis cases, and we already have all the necessary logistics, medicines, and things to manage any case.
Meanwhile, works on another infectious disease center for Tamale is 60% complete. During an inspection of the facility, Deputy Health Minister says government plans on replicating such centers across the country. Matilda Pomaga for Joy News.
Now, the NDC parliamentary primary contest in the Akwatia constituency has been won by an incumbent member of parliament, Baba Jamal, and he won with 3,653 votes as against his closest contender, Basil Ahiable, who won 2,016 votes. Now, the primary, the contest has not been without incident. Earlier on in the day, there were reports of an attempt to stab one person, and there was some confusion also there regarding the ink used, the indelible ink used in the primaries. Elsewhere, the presidential candidate of the People's National Convention, Dr. Edward Mahama, has promised to end the current load shedding in 100 days after he wins this year's general elections. In an interview with Joy News at the party's news conference on restructuring internal mechanisms ahead of the 2016 elections, Dr. Mahama said Ghana's problem is with corruption, and he will deal with it.
Oh, I did the country. My own transport company, you too can do it. These are the people I've identified. So we are looking at people who perform and can do. So when I put anybody in a position, I know the person can do it because we have the can-do spirit.
What do you think are your chances in this year's general elections? In 2012, the PNC was fourth. Yeah. This year, what do you think are your chances?
Number one, I tell Ghana, and Ghanaians should hear me clearly. In 1996, God in his own wisdom selected 3 men on whom he was going to build Ghana. J.J. Rawlings, J. Ekufuor, Edward Mahama. In that year, 1996, J.J. Rawlings got the nod. In 2000, J. Ekufuor got the nod. God was keeping me because he knows that there is a time when Ghana will be on tentacles, and I'll bring Dr. Mahama. This is my year.
Why are you so confident? Because this is not your first time that you're running.
This is the first time we have intra-party acid. This is the time that this morning, did you hear? An NDC member was taking a knife to choke another NDC member. So if there is violence within the parties, can you imagine between NDC and MPP and the hostility that has gone on all these years? That's why Ghanaians are looking for somebody credible, somebody they can trust. And if you can't trust a doctor, whom else can you trust? Whenever everybody is sick, they go to a doctor. Ghana is sick, bring Ghana to the doctor. The new force should step forward. Let's remove this government which is full of corruption. Let's remove this government that has brought doomsday on us. Let's remove this government that has brought unemployment to our young people. We need to remove them. It's corruption that is eating Ghana. And I have said, Lord God Almighty, make me the David of Ghana to fight the Goliath of Ghana, which is corruption. So the one who can bring corruption under to his knees in Ghana is Edward Mahama of the PNC.
In 2012, NPP had the free SHS policy. NDC thought of ending the current load shedding that Ghanaians are still facing. Going into 2016, what is going to be your main focus that you think will entice Ghanaians to vote for you?
Well, this new deal, a new deal for farmers, a new deal for teachers, a new deal for unemployed youth, a new deal to turn our country from doomsday, unemployment, poverty, ignorance, disease, I think is the catch thing. Everybody should join the new force, because you cannot have a new deal until you have a new force. The force is what is going to make the deal available.
So, for instance, for the teachers and for doomsday, how practically are you going to deal with it?
Doomsday, I tell you, in 100 days of being president, I'll get rid of doomsday. You can write it on the wall.
How?
By cutting out the corruption. If you've been following Dr. Amin and his press conferences, he's told all of Ghana, and I don't know if Ghanaians are not listening, how corrupt this regime is. And it's part of that corruption that is eating us out.
And in the area of teachers, finally, how are you going to deal with that?
Well, teachers, they need a decent paycheck.
Up next, we bring you entertainment.
Entertainment news is brought to you.
Time for entertainment, and Ms. Jesia, good evening.
Good evening, Israel. How are you doing?
I'm fine. How about you?
Very well, thank you. Right.
No. I don't want to go there. It looks like you have some mischief up your sleeve.
No.
Okay, so let's carry on with the entertainment. Yeah.
Okay.
So go on.
That's weird.
Entertainment.
Anyway, so Stone Boy is in the news. If Stone Boy's mom were alive today, she would have been 60 years old. He's been expressing some love, for his mom on social media. But before then, he was asked recently the question most people actually have been saying that he actually killed his mom to get a BET award. Stone Boy says, why are you guys like that?
Seriously?
He says every time he goes on Facebook, he gets at least a person asking that question. On Instagram, same. Twitter, same. People are accusing him of killing his mom for BET. He says he's tired of that, and there was no way he could have done such an outrageous thing.
Unique and it's different. Yeah. The people are going to have perceptions about it. Yeah. Which I don't intend to fight. Yeah. It's not even worth repeating. Yeah. You see, so people are saying that I use my mom for... Yeah. But I won the BET Awards before my mother passed. Whatever people are saying out there, it is not true. Yeah. So I've read that a lot on Twitter, on Facebook, and all of that.
You need that's outrageous. Whoever would think that he would kill someone would kill
and the thing is that he even had the BET Awards before his mom died. He had won the BET Award. He came back. He couldn't see his mom before she died, though. She died in July, but he got the awards before she passed on. anyway.
Well, if they want to stretch it, they can stretch it anyhow. They can say that you negotiated that you get the
before.
I mean, but I think it's outrageous.
Anyway, so Asare is always in the news, and until the 25th of January, when we'll know his fate, of course, you'll still be in the news. And this time around is Luther who is talking about Asare. You know, Luther was the one who collaborated with Asare on the Ekikimi song first.
All right.
Before Asare went on to have Sarkodie on his track. Yeah. Now, the thing is that when Asare decided to have Sarkodie on, he took Luther's portion of the song out.
Okay.
And I remember interviewing him on radio. I asked him what happened. He says, oh, he has 2 different songs. If you prefer that of Luther, go listen to that. If you prefer that one with Sarkodie, you're free to enjoy that. Now, according to Luther, now Asare is calling for him to join him shoot a music video. He says he doesn't want to be associated with him because he had initially accused him of song theft, and so he doesn't want to have anything to do with him at this point.
We're just trying to be cautious here right now because so many things has happened pertaining to the song issue, so we wouldn't want to have anything to do with it. So for later, maybe in the few years to come, and then probably somebody might say I am trying to own video. First of all, I'd say it all started with just recording a song, and then the song became a hit, and then he felt I was claiming ownership of the song, so he did a remix, which is dope. I mean, it's cool. And he was on radio, and he was like, oh, he was going to shoot the video for the remix. I don't know what came up with the change in mind. That's not basically why we are not shooting the video, but we just don't want to associate ourselves with any drama anymore, because I've got my own projects coming up, and then we're looking forward to bigger and better things.
No, but I think Luther's spoken very well. He's been quite magnanimous, because you want to think that he would go out there and actually diss Asare and go on and on, but he just says that, well, it's
I don't want to associate myself
if he wants to shoot it with Sarkodie,
go ahead and do that and all that. Yes, but that's still drama in itself. Okay, so let's go on to talk about Donzi. You know the song Crusade?
I'm not sure I do.
You do. That song that has, you know, a pastor preaching in English and then an interpretation in Fanti, which contradicts everything the pastor says. Kofi Kinata and Donzi.
Right.
Yes. So the Crusade song might probably have a part 2. Because according to Donzi, the story is not over yet. Kofi Kinata in the music video stole the offertory, and so he might have the police catch him.
Before Crusade. So me and Kinata, we've been friends from way back before we did the song Crusade. We've done a couple of songs even before Crusade. So we are just friends, we are good friends. Just that the Crusade just came in. And you know, most of the time when we get to the studio, we try to do songs. So the Crusade just came in, and I thought it was the right person for that song. We might probably continue the Crusade, because you know, after the church, he took the money away, so probably I'll take him to court or something. Just watch out for more.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, very, very, you know, creative song. And, you know, it happens a lot. You hear a preacher man say something, and then the interpreter is saying something totally different. And so I love this one. It's a great initiative by 2 of them. Even though people normally think that the song is for Kofi Kinata, the song is actually for Donzi, and he collaborated with Kofi Kinata on this one. Okay, so these people have not stopped the PDA. Even though now we know that they have nothing to do. It was just a hype for the remix of Becca's Share song. I'm talking about who?
I don't know. You were getting
I just said Becca.
Confused.
Who else?
Okay.
So who else?
No, I mean,
who else has been involved with Becca a while now?
Bizakade.
You know, they wasted our time, you know, making us think that there was something actually happening between them, but apparently it was just a hype for the remix of Becca's single Share. And Bisakade joined her to do the remix, and they are shooting the video. Look at them again, posting pictures on social media to indicate that, with captions that will actually give you ideas, but it's just photographs from
So are you trying to tell us that we should just dismiss whatever?
They don't have anything doing. It's just hype.
Nah.
It's hype. Israel is hype. They don't have anything to do.
You and I were not there.
Well, in this case, we are seeing, you and I can see. You know, when they started the whole thing, we thought that, and then Mr. Kade was on radio. He said, okay, very soon you know what it's between Becca and myself. And the next day they released the single, the remix of the single Shade.
Okay, so, but I mean, I'm not giving up. I'm still waiting to hear something.
You're still waiting to hear something. Well, no, Becca said to us that if it's God's will, or is it Bisa that said that, he'll marry Becca. One of them said that. So you can never tell. Yeah. You can never tell. So your girlfriend, Yvonne Okoro, wants you to know.
How many girlfriends do I have
Okay,
now?
like you have Sally Gali, now Sally Fiao, Miss Bell, and then now...
You've added Yvonne Okoro.
Yes, we've added Yvonne Okoro. In fact, now she's top on the list.
Okay, go ahead. That's
so
fine.
She wants you to know that she doesn't only do good on the screen. And let's go to Nigeria where you like that. Yeah. Okay, so you have an invitation to a home.
Yeah, and I'm accepting the home. Yeah, I'm accepting.
Yes. So Yvonne, watch out for Israel. He won't come with me though. He'll come alone.
I come knocking.
But you give me the details, right?
For the fufu.
Yes, and many more. Anyway, so let's go to Nigeria. And it's Stephanie Linus, who we knew was struggling initially to have a baby. That has a baby boy now, and she had the baby last year in September. And for the first time, she's splashed pictures of she, her baby, and her husband all over social media. Such a cute boy he is. Okay, so that's the baby, Stephanie's baby.
He is indeed cute.
I can't wait to see pictures of Confidence baby as well.
Well, yeah. We're gonna
so that's Linus, Mr. Linus himself with the baby, and very, very cute boy.
Doesn't it make you want to have
I can't wait, you know. I can actually wait. I can't wait to have babies.
Lovely.
Very lovely. Okay. And lastly, before I go, so Pierre was on Steve Harvey's show. And when I say Pierre, that's Miss Philippines, the one who won, the real winner of Miss Universe. Yeah. And she's been telling Steve Harvey, you see, let it go, let's move on. But she's also been saying to us what her reaction or her feelings were when she was named after Miss Colombia as the winner of Miss Universe.
All right, well, I hope that settles it.
Yes.
He said cool and he relaxed, reclined in his chair.
Exactly, it was as though,
oh, phew, finally.
You know, finally.
Okay. All right, but that's it. Before you go, though, and, you know, today there's been something interesting that's happening with, as far as
Adum TV Kumkum
Bagya is concerned. Now, Kumkum Bagya is an Indian telenovela, but has local or tree dubs over it, tree voiceovers over it. Now, initially there was this lady who was so excited about the show.
True.
Donated a goat.
Yeah, it was a goat, yes, last year.
To the show. Now, today, a chief came over and brought 2 cows.
2 big cows, huge cows, like.
The photos are on adomonline.com. I thought we could get to pick it.
Yeah.
But they bought 2 huge cows.
I can't wait to have my portion.
Just for they putting together Kumkum Bagya.
Exactly. And we had great reviews for Kumkum Bagya. You know, people have said that when they go to the rural areas, everybody's by their television set and they're talking about Kumkum Bagya. And they're wondering what is Kumkum Bagya. So if you don't know what Kumkum Bagya is, like Israel has told you already, you know, it's a telenovela for Indians, but you know you have 3 voiceovers over it, so it makes it easier for you to relate with you know the.
It's quite curious when you see the Indians and yet the voices you're hearing is in Tree.
Is in Tree. True.
All right. But that's it. So if you haven't seen Kumkum Bagya, you better go for Kumkum Bagya. It's on Adum TV. You want to get to that. All right.
Thank you, Israel.
Thank you very much for coming along to bring us
entertainment. And entertainment was brought to us by Airtel, the smartphone network.
Thank you very much, Miss G. That's it for entertainment. Up next, we bring you sports. Please stay tuned. Right, the time now for sports, and there's no Gary R. Smith. I'm presenting the sports tonight because Gary is a bit under the weather. We wish him speedy recovery. Now, only few pundits were surprised when today it emerged that the sports ministry was one of those that President John Mahama's reshuffle had affected. Dr. Mustafa Ahmed is making way for Neelante van der Poel, who has long been known to have eyed this position. But what do some journalists make of the frequent changes at the ministry?
Neelante, that we know, is also a sports person. He has been with sports, of course. During the time of E.T. Mensah, he was almost like a special aide to E.T. Mensah. He knows the sports. He as a sports broadcaster, he knows everything about sports. I know he's a revolutionist. He will come and help. So what I'm not too sure is he has almost less than 10 months because you are going to election area. And when it's election year, it's difficult taking certain hardcore decisions. That is what I think about it. But hey, I believe that is the man. He decides to go where he's the coach, as the late President Bill says. So he has decided, let's give Neelante the chance.
Everybody who has been posted to the sports ministry is a fine gentleman. He had everything to move Ghana sports forward. But what did we see? Neelante has been a media person. He's been in the, he plays some part in administration of football clubs in this country. I know he's very much close with Liberty professionals. He will be a fine man at the helm of the Ministry of Youth and Sports. As to whether you will have the support of everybody at the ministry to work is another thing. We've seen people, very fine gentlemen, move into the sports ministry and they end up, being a villain or something. You don't even know what happens. If you count the number, or if you mention the name, apart from Muntaka, who allegedly the Pampers or Kebab thing, apart from that, everybody at the ministry was a fine gentleman. But what happened? I pray that maybe they might be the turning point of the Ministry of Youth and Sport, that we have a gentleman who will be able to ride the storm.
Right, so those were some journalists sharing their views on yet another sports ministry reshuffle, which makes Neelante van der Poel the fifth minister since John Mahama became president and the umpteenth minister in the last 4 or 5 years. Still in Ghana, and former Black Stars captain Stephen Appiah has called on Ghanaians to play for peace in the upcoming general elections later this year. His latest project is dubbed the 2016 Unity Cup, which will be played to raise awareness of the need for peace during the polls.
Sports, particularly football, has bonding and healing powers, and I intend using it for the greater good of the nation. In its election year, with the expertise of Barima Media, organizers of my testimonial dinner and march, I will in June this year bring together a number of retired and active international football stars to Ghana to play against the Black Stars.
The same project has been giving some stardust with the involvement of some notable footballers. Former English Premier League defender Sol Campbell is one of those in town to support Appiah, and the ex-Arsenal star believes the Unity Cup project is timely.
Here, I've received very warm welcome. I feel at home here, especially with the Arsenal fans on the table and out there. But for me, when Stephen Appiah and George Boateng asked me to come here to promote or kickstart this promoting the 2 games in June, I took it up and I really wanted to do this because it is so important for this particular year for Ghana with the elections and football and politics. If you bring and get the best out of both.
On the international front, there have been some shocks galore at the Australian Open. The latest casualty today was former world #1 Rafael Nadal, who was knocked out in the first round. His fellow countryman Fernando Velasco was responsible for the loss. The 2009. You've got to love the game. Now, the 2016 Olympic Games loom closer and closer, and with a few months to go, the teams are getting ready. The latest to name their squad for the basketball event is the highly rated United States team. Here's an idea of who made it and who did not.